Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Roofing and Remodeling Podcast. Today, I'm excited with our guest, Dawn Lowe from the Greensburg Chambers of Commerce. We're a member down there and try to help them as much as we can. So just with the podcast, I said we're going to make it about other people, help them out. So we're just here to have a conversation with Dawn today. So take a minute to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm Dawn Lowe. I'm the Executive Director for the Greensburg Decatur County Chamber. Our chamber is a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c6. And our chamber started in 1906, prior to the Indiana Chamber, prior to the U.S. Chamber. So there's a lot of great history with our chamber and being embedded in Decatur County in this region. So we're super excited. I've got one employee, Leah Kane, who is a full-time employee for 2023. So we're excited to have her on full-time. And then we will bring in a summer intern during the summer and give someone an opportunity to learn a little bit more about marketing and about event planning. We take them through financials, and so they see the back end of the business just a little bit more to give them a better idea of what they want to do when they grow up. So
now this may be off key and I may be wrong here. Does Leah have connections to Rush County at all?
She is actually from Rush County, yeah. Okay. So I stole one from you.
I was like, I swear I spoke to her last week and I was thinking, man, I was hoping you only had one person, because I was going to say, hey, I spoke to one of your girls last week and I'm horrible. I was going up to a funeral, so my mind was kind of all over. But yeah, so no, awesome. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh my goodness, love them. That is kind of my heartbeat. Is our family very family centric. I'm married to Mark Lowe. He is from the Greensburg, Decatur County area. We have 4 children. They are now, oh my gosh, now I'm going to date myself. They are 19, 18, 15, and 14. So we are very, very, very busy at this time. And I always talk about, we've got one who is currently in college. She's a sophomore. And when she comes home, it just intensifies everything that's going on in the house. And I love my chaos. Right. It is constant chaos, and I feed off of that. I love it. But it's good chaos. So we're busy.
Well, at least they're old enough to, help each other out and, drive and that kind of stuff.
I'll tell you what, it's a game changer.
I was driving our kids to school this morning, and I'm like, I always promised myself I wasn't going to wish any stage away, because I know we're going to look up and I'm going to be in your boat, where right now ours are 7, 6, and 4, but it's like, man, how nice would it be that
I know
Rhett's like, hey, I'm driving my sisters to school. I'll be like, all right, bud, but like I said, I don't want to wish any stage away of that.
Each stage comes with its challenges, for sure, but you are always going to be in that point, no matter what stage you're in, and you're going to look back and you're going to say, oh man, I wish they were still, or I wish they still did. And that's just part of the life cycle, right? That's just part of them growing up and you feeding them what they need to become that next stage. And it's exciting. It's, to watch them unfold and become that person, and to see their different personalities come out. They're all different. They came from the same place most of the time, but they're all different. And so that's a really fun and unique part of parenting.
Okay. So I never really have much of an agenda when it comes to a podcast, but I'm just going to let you talk a little bit about parenting.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it's flowing. So there's no reason not to, I don't know, be, the good, the bad, the ugly, what you've done right that you hope pays off, and what you're like, oh, why did I do that for? Because I'll throw myself out there. We were talking before we hit record about, being positive. And this year I'm trying to be intentional of being positive, like talking positive into the team and, into my kids. Just because there's so much negative so much negative out there. And I'm not one of them foo-foo, everything has to be positive. You can't ever tell somebody they did something wrong, because I struggle, because I'm so direct where I'm like, hey, this was done wrong. And I don't always I always tell people they got to know how to handle me whenever I'm like, hey, here's a problem. We've got to get this addressed, you know. But I also don't believe in leading with fear either. I want my team to know that I love them, even if I have to be like, hey, this is unacceptable. I just had a conversation with one of the sales reps. The back of his truck was a mess. And I'm like, I want it taken care of by the end of the day. customers are watching. But I just looking back, like, you were telling me about your kids and what they're into before we hit record, and you're always posting on social media, like you're always there for your kids, which I think is awesome. Way to be an awesome mom. But like I said, let's just talk a little bit of parenting, and then we'll get into something that's fun coming up with for you guys that we can help you promote. With the Chambers.
So you didn't tell me this was going to be like a Comedy Central. I mean, oh, hey, Dawn, come and talk about parenting. Oh, guess what? I've got all kinds of stories. Parenting is hard. It is hard because it is your job and your responsibility to invest in that person and give them knowledge and allow them to fall sometimes and to stumble. And I don't know about you, but I'm super, super competitive. So I don't want to fail, and I don't want my kids to fail, and I don't want them to hurt, and I don't want them to have heartache and have bad experiences. I want to make everything better. A lot of moms, a lot of dads we're fixers, we're doers. So, we want to come in and we want to fix and we want to help and we want to comfort. And sometimes that's not the best thing in that situation. So, just being totally transparent. It's not been perfect. We're not perfect, and nobody is. But you always look back. I do, because, like I said, because I am a competitive person, and I always wish I would have done something differently or better. However, I have to also take a step back and say I made the decision in the moment to the best of my ability, and all I can do is learn from that. So there were some years in there where I was probably way more harsh and way more stern than I wish I would have been. And a lot of that was because I wanted things done right. I wanted it done well. I wanted it done, very organized and very specific. And that's my personality. That's not necessarily their personality, and they're kids, right? They're gonna mess up. They're gonna make mistakes because they're still learning. Looking back now, I'm able to take a step back now that our kids are a little bit older and just enjoy the moment. Mm-hmm. And I think that if I had any advice to parents who have smaller children, it would be that, take a step back, let them banter, let them talk, let them discuss, let them play, and just enjoy watching them grow and learn and be that person that they are in that moment. Because it passes by quickly.
Absolutely. My two youngest are girls, and it's so funny because my youngest had a snowman project that was due today, and our schedule now is Emily comes in here, gets stuff rolling. She kind of does all of our scheduling, our production. I'm helping managing the sales guys and just kind of overseeing everything. So for her to be able to be a mom, she works, and then when it's time to pick up the older two from school, she's off for the rest of the day, or at least a lot of flexibility where most of the time she doesn't come back to the office. And everything's going smooth this morning. We actually leave 10 minutes early.
Nice.
Because Riley, we drop her off at the preschool, so it's always tough to get her back in time.
Yep.
And on the way back, I was like, Riley, you got your book back? And she's like, no. And I'm like, oh. And last year I would have gotten mad and been like, Riley, you got to be more responsible. It's like, all right, she's 4 years old. I'm 35. It's my fault, Well,
and it's still, I think it's still okay to have those conversations because that's part of that learning process. They still have to understand that they need to think about things and to go through those steps. But I think for me, it was how I handled it. It definitely, there were definitely moments where it wasn't handled probably appropriately and to the best of my parenting ability. And like I said, all I can do is learn from that and move forward. So, yeah.
Did you wire our office when we signed up with you guys last year? Because some of this you're speaking right to me. It's No,
it's funny because we were watching your social media very, very closely. We had the discussion when you came on as a chamber member and got into a lot more than just business. And Leah and I in the office have talked quite a bit about your business plan and the way that you conduct the managerial side of your business. And a lot of that has spoken volumes to me because I have gone through a lot of training through some different things that I've done in my life. And I feel like we're speaking the same language a lot of times. So I love it.
And I just had this conversation with somebody. Your personal life and your business life, they're never separated. like, when somebody goes through a divorce or somebody goes through a death in the family, like it affects their business life as it does their personal life, and vice versa. Like if they're loved and cared for at the office, I hope they go home, and I hope they're a better spouse because, I don't want anybody ever to say on Sunday night, like, I got to go to work. If you're part of my team and it's a team, we call them team members. I don't call them employees. Like I really want, I want them to be team, like, and we did year end on like goal setting and vision board for this year. And absolutely almost every single person said, I love the family that we have here. And it's not me and Emily. It's like the entire group of, I'm going to brag on my team. We had a girl that just lost her dad, and he wanted to spend his last days at home with her in her house. So we went up there on a Saturday morning and we helped convert this room so her daddy could be at home as long as he could.
Nice.
And I sent out one text message, and
it happened.
I didn't have to call anybody on the side and be like we showed up.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me. That meant a ton to her. And, it's just, that's the culture that we're building. And I know right now the buzzword is culture. However, like, it's what's really happening, not just what you're saying. And I remember when I was in corporate America, I interviewed and I looked up at this wall and they had all these core values. And I'm like, yes. And I took a job there. I realized real quick, I don't think they'd ever talked about them core values ever. Like, It was just on the wall.
Yeah.
And it, so yeah, I mean, we're just out trying to, like, I've said it before, I want a leadership company that happens to sell roofing, siding, and gutters. Like, I want people to be better community members. I want them loved and encouraged so they're a better husband, a better wife, like, because that's what's going to make everything better. And, but I also don't shy behind it. We have to get work done, and we have to work hard when we're at work, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's not, some days there's kids running around, and, some days you got a babysitter that can't watch a kid or something, and we've got to improvise. But, we're still trying to run a professional business there, so. But, I guess tell us some things about what's coming up, with the chambers, because you guys are always got a lot of stuff going. Emily, my wife, and I were just discussing going to one of your loggers and
leaders and loggers.
Yep. And now that I'm on camera, the one that I'm thinking of is not coming to me.
Fit by Britt.
Yes.
I saw you made a comment.
Yes. Yeah,
so,
I tagged Emily.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, so
I got your back. It's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was like, man, what? And then you say that because once again, like, another thing that I'm trying to focus on this year for myself as a leader is being in better physical shape because I'm going to show up, I'm going to feel better, and I'm going to treat my team better.
Yeah.
And we're busy like everybody else. Sure. I always say Emily's, she's trying to do 3 full-time jobs. Mm-hmm. She's trying to be a mom, she's trying to help run the business, and she's still trying to be a homemaker and a wife, so, but yeah, just share some things coming up or, things you're excited about. It's in the works, ways that we can support you or encourage people that's watching, to show up and be there.
So this is a total flipped of script because our job as a chamber is to reach out and help our business community and our members. So it's very odd to be sitting on the other side of the microphone and you wanting to help us, which is phenomenal and speaks volumes for you and your business and the business plan that you've introduced to your team. One of the things that we talked about last year, we had a lot of growth and change last year, like astronomical growth, which was great. So we changed some things and we made some things more permanent on our calendar. So we have what's called monthly calendar standing commitments. So every single month you're going to see the same things regardless. And it's my job to make sure that they happen. And Leah supports me on that. So every single month on the second Tuesday of the month, we have a lunch and learn. We just had one talking about firearm safety and gun safety. So that was very, very well attended. Second Tuesday of the month, lunch and learns from 12 to 1, held in our conference room. You have to RSVP or register through our website. Third Tuesday is the Leaders and Loggers you mentioned. That is held from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Tap on the north side of the square. That is free and open to the public, and that is just a great place to meet other people, to shake hands, to pass out your business card, to give that 30 or 60-second elevator speech, and just to really connect. We have had so many collaborations come out of the Leaders and Loggers networking event, which is very, very cool to see. It serves its purpose so well. And then on the first and third Mondays of the month, we are on our local radio station, WTRE. We have a show called Community Connections, doing something similar to what we're doing here, only, again, the roles are reversed. So from 11:15 to 11:45, we invite a chamber member on, and we just talk about your business. We give you that platform and that time, that opportunity to tell a little bit about who you are, what you do, and to ask and answer some of those questions that the general public is probably wanting to know. So those are our standing calendar commitments every single month. Bigger events coming up. We have a legislative update on February the 18th from 8:30 to 10. That will be held at City Hall in the multipurpose room. And we've got our elected officials signed up, geared on, ready to come, and they'll each get 10 minutes to do an update. And then we'll take questions and answers from the public. So open to the general public, anyone's welcome to attend. Then on February the 25th, we have our Act Day breakfast from 7:30 to 9:30 at the Greensburg Community Agricultural Learning Center. We are bringing in Bruce Kettler, who is the former Indiana Department of Agriculture Commissioner, and he has just recently switched roles, but he's going to be able to stay on with us, so we're super excited for that. He's going to be talking about succession planning. So we're obviously focusing a little bit more on the ag industry, but, that's such a topic that can transcend to anyone. So, looking at your own business, Bob, what is your plan? What happens if you're not here tomorrow, or, God forbid, something tragic happens to you and Emily? Where does this business go, and what is that plan for that? So we are able to bring on a couple of our local chamber members to be panelists. So we're super excited to have Laura Williams with Williams Law Office. We're going to also welcome Rebecca Bowman from Bowman CPA Group LLC. And then we have Chris Tebby with Hamilton and Tebby Law Office coming as well. So they're going to support Bruce's topic of succession planning, and we'll be there for questions and answers as well. And then to round out kind of the first quarter, we started something last year. You talked a little bit about positivity and really building up that employee. We looked at our calendar and said, what are we doing as a chamber? Well, we're supporting business, and that's our job. And we come in every day with that intentionality of what can we do? How can we do more? Are we doing enough? What niches are not being filled or met? And we looked at our membership, and we looked at our events that coincide with that. And we said, we're giving a lot of opportunities and supporting our small businesses, but what are we doing for those larger industries? We offer a lot of sponsorship opportunities, which helps with marketing. But what more can we do? So we started HR Power Hours. We held 2 last year, and our intent is to have them quarterly this year. So we have the Department of Labor coming and giving a labor, OSHA, InSafe, InServe, youth employment update on March the 9th. So we're excited to bring them in and allow that to be a time of education for, not only our small businesses, but that's obviously going to hit some of the broader spectrum businesses that are a little bit larger and house more employees. So that's kind of like a quick hit on our first quarter. I joke and say that we're kind of just going to slowly roll into 2023. We're exhausted already, to be completely honest.
Well, and I was talking to a good friend of mine that owns a roofing company in Alabama, and he's like, "Hey, how you guys doing?" I was like, "Our phones are still ringing, and this is supposed to be, our slow time where we're trying to train new guys or just get more educational things in." So, I mean, I'm thankful. We're fortunate for that, But yeah. What? My wife and a couple of girls went to Women's in Leadership event, or I may be wording that wrong, that you guys did. Is
Women in Business?
Women in Business. Is that something that you're looking at?
We are.
Doing? Okay.
Yep. We are. Mark your calendars, June 29th. The date is already set. We've got 1.5 of our keynote speakers locked in at this time. So we're working on the plans. That committee, I'll tell you what, kudos, like you're talking about a team. That committee for us is the epitome of a hardworking team. It takes so much planning to pull that event off. But yeah, we're super excited. Women in Business will be back. It's an annual event, and we'll see that on Thursday, June the 29th. It's a full day event. There'll be more information coming out on that, but we're super excited.
What day is that?
That's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Yep,
okay.
June 29th.
Okay.
Yep.
I just do everything by the Rush County Fair. I know that's maybe dumb, but I think that's usually the week of the fair, and I think that's how it was. Just because Emily and Bobby and Ellie went, and I was just asking Ellie, I was like, "Have you ever met Dawn?" She's like, "No, but I saw her at that event." I'm like, "Okay, that's right. I'd forgot that she had went down there." So, what other big events? You guys got? I mean, I know your annual dinner. We wanted to attend, and we had the Christmas on Main parade, and my daughter won the princess contest.
I know, that was so great.
I was like, and I know a few of our team was down there to represent us, so that was good, and I actually like that. If I could delegate, like I like some of that stuff, but I also want to get the team involved where they can take their spouse or whatever, and I always like to get the spouse involved too, so they feel like, they see the impact that their significant other is making for the company, but more for the community. So
yeah, absolutely. And that event particularly is a great one for it to be a spousal event. So we do some major large events throughout the year. The legislative update being one, the Ag Day breakfast. Then our Women in Business conference is our third. We hold an annual golf outing first Friday of August every single year, and we alternate between Greensburg Country Club and North Branch. Those are our two closest in proximity, and we alternate between the two courses year after year. So that'll be the first Friday in August. That's just a chance and an opportunity to take your team out, say thank you. Sometimes it's a client or it's a business partner or what have you. Obviously gives you some recognition in marketing and things like that. But it's just a great day to get out of the office and away from, the mundaneness of what is happening, kind of refreshes everybody. And then we have our annual dinner, which is usually it's the Friday between Veterans Day and Thanksgiving. So that week of November, annual dinner. And then this year we started a cash bash, which I know has been done here in Rush County before. So we took what was a very positive event for others and stole it, copied it, and it was very successful for us. So that is the first time we have run the cash bash, and we sold tickets. It's just basically a ticket raffle draw. And then the intent with that is that funds our small business grant. This year we were able to give two instead of one. We've always given one $1,000 small business grant, and because of that event we were able to do two, which is super exciting. Fit by Britt that you were mentioning earlier, who's going to do our leaders and loggers for the month of January, was one of our recipients, and she's actually based out of Batesville. So we're excited to be able to pour into her business. And then it also enabled us to, this year we're going to be able to give away 3 $1,000 scholarships to a student at each of our local county high schools. So we have North Decatur, South Decatur, and Greensburg, all within our county, and we are going to do an application process and give a $1,000 scholarship to 3 different students, one at each school.
So I'm a huge Dave Ramsey guy. Everybody knows that. So I love when you hear scholarships and stuff like that, because actually one of the guests coming up, she's going to college debt free from scholarships and from working, and that's awesome. It's just changing that mindset. Like we keep going back to mindset, positive mindset. Like have the mindset that you can actually do it. What are the qualifications for that scholarship? Just super
basic. So we're, like I said, we're going to award a North Decatur student, a South Decatur student, and a Greensburg student. There's an application that will go live probably closer toward the end of this month, beginning of February, and it'll just be like 3 or 4 basic questions. If you're awarded this money, what are your plans? They just have to show proof that they're entering some sort of post-secondary education, and that can be a 4-year institution. It can be a something that's more along the lines of a skills trade course or certification program. So as long as they're entered into some sort of post-secondary education, then they qualify and are within those schools.
Awesome. So, no, that's like I said, that's great. Just because there's so much of that out there, and a lot of kids aren't aware. So we'll try to share that on our Facebook just to help you guys on that. What anything else that that's got you jazzed up? Anything new that you're doing this year, or you're just trying to be consistent on your monthly stuff? Consistency
is the key. So we felt like we weren't consistent in the past. That definitely has served us well. So we'll continue that. I think one of the things that is resonating with us from last year to this year that we're really, really striving for and working hard, those different topics, those different events are usually geared toward the business, but you've hinted on it so many times: positivity, mindset, and building the employee. If we can pour into the employee, then essentially we're building the business as well.
Yes.
So when you have a healthy employee, and whether that is through fitness, through exercise, through diet, through mindset, through personal development, whether it's through training and education, for that specific business. If we can pour into that employee, then we really in turn are pouring into that business as well. So, that opens the door for us as a chamber to be able to provide such a wide variety of topics that we feel are relevant to us and what our mission is. So that is always, forward thinking, things that we're focusing on. And then, youth development. So the chamber has not always been seen as a business or an organization that pours into youth, and we've been able to do that several different ways in 2022. I mentioned the Ag Day breakfast. That Ag Day breakfast was so successful that we were able to turn around and give a donation to each of our local FFA chapters. Awesome. So North Decatur, South Decatur, and Greensburg FFAs all received a donation from the chamber. Our chamber specifically runs on a $0 balanced budget. So we are not there with the intent to make money. So if we do, then we're now kind of shifting our gears and our roles, and we're saying, okay, so what can we do with this, and how can we, like you said, give back? So through the FFA donations, we were able to give back to our youth that way. Like I said, we had a summer intern last year. Last year was the first time that we were able to do that. And what better way than to give them experience and to be able to supplement a little bit of income as well to help them, get started or go to college with, their books paid for or whatever it might be that they're going to use that money for. So on top of experience, just having that resume builder to and having that confidence to go to the next level or that next job and say, hey, I can do this. I've done it before. So our summer intern, and then through the scholarships that I just mentioned. So 3 big areas that we were able to give back in 2022 that we're looking forward to in 2023 as well.
That's awesome, because of course, that's a passion of ours. You'll notice a lot of our giving is towards the youth, FFA, 4-H, both of them programs, molded me to who I am today. And then once again, we sponsor several of the high schools with the Dave Ramsey personal finance class. It's just, man, if we can grab a hold of them quicker and just pour into them.
Yeah, that's the future of all of these businesses that, the chamber supports. That is our future. That youth, that's who we're going to look to for leadership in the next 5, 10, 20 years. So, let's focus a lot on building them and building their personalities and their confidence levels so that, I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, there were the doctors, the lawyers, those were those people. And I didn't feel at that time in my life that I could be fill in the blank. And that's one of the things, talking about your children that, we have tried to do as parents is, you want to go be a doctor? Let's do it. You can. You're going to have to study a lot. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some time and effort. But you can do that. Why can't you? Don't limit yourself. Don't be limited, which, funny segue, that was the conference theme for women in business last year was limitless, balancing you. So, a lot of these things just resonate with me personally, with my family. And I think if we can just continue, like you said, to keep building, whether that's through our youth or through our businesses, through our own employees, then that's us being able to maybe leave a mark and to make the world a little bit better place.
Well, and I mean, that's the mastermind that I'm part of. Revolt always seems to be brought up in these conversations, and it's roofing owners, mainly roofing owners. It's business owners, but it's a lot of roofing guys, and like legacy, leadership, and integrity are the core values there.
Yeah.
And like we really, a lot of our stuff, if you look back at our stuff, it's about what legacy is Bob and Emily Hoel leaving. Like, I just talked to a vendor yesterday, and we were talking to Dave Ramsey, and he got out of debt, and that's what let him start his business. And I mean, that's exactly what I preach, and that's exactly how we run this business, and that's how we've been able to scale it the way we have.
Yeah.
And it's not always sexy to be like, debt free or have to save up the money for it. However, like the opportunities that we give that like I said, we've got a gentleman out here, and his stepson is 4 years old. Like his stepson's kids may never know who I am, but us starting this business, him, thankfully, he has enough belief and faith in us that he comes and works in our business. Like that's going to change his stepson's kids' lives, and it's like, when you look at a legacy, it's like, what lives are you going to change that never know your name? And like any time with the youth, and they're just so, and the one reason I started sponsoring the Dave Ramsey classes in the high schools is I was teaching a lot of financial peace classes to adults, and I kept hearing the same thing. Well, I wish I knew this when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I was like, I understand that. However, you can still change today at 35 or 45 or 55, and make a difference, even if it's just more in your kids. Like if you could get it through your kid's head at 25, of like, hey, look at this, It's something else that you brought up, like, pouring more into the employees, the team members of your chambers. First of all, pouring into the leader is always, phenomenal. But yeah, once again, and everybody complains about, I can't hire, and we're always looking to hire somebody just because we're trying to grow.
Sure.
But, we also do have people come to us sometimes looking for a job because they see what we're doing. So I think as business owners, if we would just rather focus on like making ourselves better and making our company better, like it's going to be easier to attract talent and retain talent,
Right.
And that's not easy. I've made plenty of dumb hires. Absolutely, plenty of dumb hires.
Not everyone is going to be a good fit, right?
Correct.
Like everybody's got their different skill sets. They've got their different beliefs, their different values. But when you land on that one, we were talking about it in a meeting I was at this morning, then, grab onto that one or those two. And really, if you can make them feel valued and respected, a lot of respect just comes from being heard. They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. So if you can make them feel valued and respected, much more likely to stay and have longevity with your company than, if it's just a day-to-day business, like, transactional. If we can do transformational leadership versus transactional, always better.
Absolutely.
Always
yeah.
better.
One saying inside Revolt is impact over income.
Yes.
Like Zig Ziglar says, if you help
Yeah.
enough people, you'll never have to worry about money.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
Love
really
it.
easy to show that in like sales. Like you go help 100 people this year, you're going to make good money. But just in general, like, it's just, and one thing I always go back to is there's nothing wrong with making money either. Like
No, absolutely not.
There's two sides of that.
There's a reason for making money, right? We have to survive.
and I even had a conversation with a Christian the other day, and he's like, well, I don't think I deserve to make that much money. And I was like, well, do you think God wants the good side to have the money or the bad side? Like, so it's like there's nothing wrong with that kind of stuff. Like just have the right heart on whatever you're doing with your team. Me and my wife, we had a job that kind of went a little sideways, and it was a pain, and we got it figured out. The customer was great. We worked through the problems.
Nice.
And my wife's like, all right, how do we pay this sales rep? Because we're just lucky that we got the final check, and we're just glad to be done with it. And there's really no profit. And I just looked at her and I said, treat her how you wanted the roofing companies that I used to work for treat me.
Sure.
Because
wow. What great
when
insight.
I first started it, my son was in the roofing space. He was an infant. And this particular sales rep has an infant. Like, how do you want?
Right. I think one of the things that I talk to our kids a lot about that you've kind of hinted on is, all we can do is do our best, right? Yep. Like you can just give 110% every day. And as long as you're intentional with your day, then that should be a good day. Not everything is going to go right, go smoothly, go perfectly. But if I can go to bed at night, if my kids can go to bed at night and say, I did the best I could do, then that's all we can ask. And hopefully you'll see the fruition of, of those choices and those good decisions, whether it be through finances, we're talking about Financial Peace University and being debt free, whether it's through that or through, like, it'll pay dividends. It may take some time, but those employees will stay, they'll be retained, or the bank account will look a little smoother, because we're intentional and we're consistent. So those are those are buzzwords for me: consistency, relevancy, intentionality. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Now that you say that, consistency is one of, we do a team retreat. This will be our second year. We're going to rent a cabin in southern Indiana.
Awesome.
And we got a lady coming in that's going to cook for us. We're going to bring in a couple of guest speakers, and it's just going to be a lot of like personal development stuff.
Love it.
And there's a method to my madness. Once again, I'm stealing some stuff from my friend Hunter Blue that runs the Revolt group. Like there's, we're going to get up in the morning, we're going to go do an exercise just to get that blood pumping.
Yep.
And then, they always say self-worth over net worth. So like really the first part of the retreat is all about like goal setting and just doing things for positive mindset where it's going to directly benefit the person, not just the company. And that's what I was just talking to one of my guys that I want to have speak and do one of the sessions. I'm like, we're not going to talk about roofing. Like, we're really not. Like, if I can help these people grow personally, and it's just, and when we did them goals and stuff, like, it was funny. One of my girls was like, brings up her vision board, and I see something on there, and I'm like, I'm going to hold you accountable for that. And she's like, gosh darn it. She's like, when I heard you were going to be in this meeting, she's like, I knew you were going to hold me accountable. But she actually kind of wanted me to. And that's another thing that I feel like sometimes as a leader. We need
that, yeah. Like, we need those accountability partners.
We have to. Like, it's, as a leader, I want them to like me. But I realize they're not going to like me every day. Every minute of every day. Like it's not, once again, it kind of goes back into the business, the personal, the kid stuff. Like, your kids aren't going to like you every day. I just hope they grow up one day and,
I can promise you mine don't.
Yeah. But one day they're going to, call you and say, Mom, thank you for this. Or
that's exactly right. You just nailed it. So like those conversations are hard. Those are the tough ones to have, but they will respect you more in the end when you're able to have those tough conversations, when you're able to say no and have a reason for saying no, when you're able to pull back and say, you know what, it's not within our realm, it's not within our scope. We cannot do that. A lot of those discussions happen at our house, and geared around finances. Like, that family may be able to do that or to handle that or to have that or to go there or whatever it might be. That's not us, and that's okay. Now our kids, now that they're getting older, they're seeing that and they're understanding. They go, okay, now it took 10 or 15 years, but I get it now and I understand and I respect you for that. Those are hard. That's hard as a parent. It's hard to hold back or to say no or to have that tough conversation with an employee. But in the end, if it's done out of the right mindset and with the right intentionality, then it's probably the right decision.
Well, and, we'll kind of wrap up on this because it's kind of been the theme the entire time. Like, you talk about, like, your kids and, you want to protect them.
Wrap them in bubble wrap.
But you also, like, you want to make them have to do something, make a decision, mess up. Like, it's almost like in business where I got to delegate things. Like, you've got to delegate decisions to them that, you don't necessarily want to, but if you step back, like, that's when you've had the most personal growth in your life. That's when I've had the most personal growth, like, and you just kind of got to live with it. And, sometimes I'll look at Adam, or I'll look at Ellie, or I'll look at Nick, or I'll look at my wife, and I'm like, make the decision. I stand behind it. Well, nope. I walk away. I'm like, just do it. And I was like, our core values, our end goal, and I'm a self-help junkie, always stuttering. I do plenty of that. Always studying like successful people and stuff like that. And I'm like, man, some of the people that have the largest impacts, they always tell their story, and not in a, hey, look at me, I was abused as a kid, but it was like, hey, I went through this, but I'm here now. Yeah. And if I can do that, then you can do that. And my buddy Hunter Blue was fortunate enough at his roofing conference, gave me and Emily the Revolt Against Average Award for the,
congratulations.
Thank you, for the amount of like the impact that we're having in our community and our team, and like, everybody wants awards. I get it. It's cool. But it's like that award is so much about my team and my community that, it's just, he said, if some dumb redneck from Indiana can win it, guys, anybody can. And, he's right. There's a lot of, we've all go through a lot of adversity, and the more adversity that we go through and get through, the more impact that we're going to have. And like, I struggle with that raising our kids. Like they go out to job sites and I help them clean. They help clean up jobs. They're in the office and helping put folders together for jobs. And like, I don't want my kids to grow up and act like, they're better than somebody else just because their mom and dad own a successful business in town. Like, because it can be taken away in a heartbeat. I just want to raise my kids to be able to do things and, love them, encourage them, and know that, hey, they're going to make a mistake, and, that's okay. Our kids are really into playing board games and stuff. And my son, like, there's a basketball goal thing in the other room, and you'll just hear it. You'll hear the ball hit the rim and constantly. Then a sales rep comes in, and he drags them in there. He whips them because he plays it all the time. Like Adam probably like wakes up in the night dreaming, hearing that sound because But it's fun it's fun to have the kids around it, and to raise them up in it. And plus, I get to have them right there with me to pour into them, to love them. Yeah. I wouldn't change that for the world, but. As we conclude, like, any final thoughts?
I think with everything that we've talked about, reminding yourself that it doesn't always come easy. So being intentional about health and wellness doesn't come easy. You have to create that culture and be consistent and make things a habit before, that, like you were talking about, taking your team and getting up and exercising. I get up at 4:45 every morning and I work out, and that's not easy. It's still several years later, that is still but it's always a good decision because I feel like I'm more on my A game and I'm ready to take on, a random podcast in Rush County or, whatever it might be. That jazzes me up, and it gives me more energy to expend that energy first thing in the morning. So, finding those things that help you be successful, it's not always easy. Life isn't perfect, but with that intentionality and those routines, I'll be very, very honest, like talking a lot about mindset. I struggle with that personally. And it has been through a lot of self-development and practice. And, you talked about journaling a little bit, doing some of those things, the vision boards, the journaling. And it's a constant reminder. Like, I fail all the time. I fail, sometimes daily and for repeated days and for extended periods of time. But, continuing to pour into, hey, I want to be a better person so that I can be a better mom, so I can be a better leader at the chamber, so that I can be a better coworker, to these partnering organizations that we work with. But reminding yourself that it's not always going to be perfect. It's not always easy. We always paint a picture on social media about the good. There's challenges that come with that. And we've had to probably get through something to be able to showcase whatever that, fun, perfect, glamorous image is on social media.
Absolutely, yeah. Social media is a highlight reel. And that's why my wife about killed me last summer, but I think we had to hand load 160 bundles of shingles for a job site before 7 o'clock. And it was one of them mornings, it was like you sweated when you walked outside.
Yeah,
and
wow.
That's, if anybody says what's made this company a success is the work ethic.
Hard work.
I mean, it's just every day consistently.
Absolutely.
Like, I didn't want to have to carry 160 bundles of shingles,
Right.
But it's hard work. It's not easy. And the reason you're a success is because you failed multiple times. And that's one thing that a lot of people they fail once.
It's an unfortunate part of the process that we all have to go through.
Yeah, they fail once and they think that they just want to quit. Like I fail every day. Like, how many times have I messed up on this podcast? But we've got a goal of doing 26 podcasts this year, and we're going to do it. And hopefully. So
see, you're being intentional.
Yes,
you set that goal, and that's why we're here.
And we'll probably have you back next year, and I'll sound way more sharp, and it'll be a lot more. It'll be a lot
now you're raising
better,
the bar for me too. So I'm going to have to be better.
But no, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
You guys
honored to be here.
Thank you. You guys do awesome with your chamber events, and you guys are very active. And I am at a minimum. My wife will be there. I'll probably be there at the next Leader and Loggers. And
we'd love to have you.
I'm sure the girls will be back down there for the Women in Business conference, and we'll keep supporting you guys the best we can.
Well, thank you. We greatly appreciate you and all of our other sponsors. You guys are what enables us to pour back into our communities, and it not only makes our job a little bit easier, it makes it fun, and that's why we get up every day. That's why we walk into the office with a good, positive attitude, and just that mindset or that insightfulness that you as Hoel Roofing and Remodeling are enabling us to do what we do. So thank you.
Thank you. This concludes this podcast with Dawn. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you want to comment any comments or subscribe to our page, that would be great. Thank you. Have a great day.